And welcome to Subjective Insights. You know what, today, in this video, I've already done one, I'm going to do a bit of free will bashing. Get out my old punching bag again. Okay, before I go into this reason why free will just makes no sense, we have to explain what an explanation is, right? Now, I have this thing held in my hand, and if I let it go, it drops to the floor. So we have this story, right? That there was an object in my hand, I let it go, and it dropped to the floor. Now then, why did it drop to the floor? Okay? Now we believe that it's caused, that it happened for a reason. And what we mean by this reason is that there is a sequence of events which caused it to happen. And that if any of those events were different, then something different would have happened. So that this thing here is not responsible for falling to the floor. So within that you've got what the object actually is and certain properties it has, like it has weight and it exists within a gravitational field, you know, on Earth. And that while I'm holding it up there, that's stopping the force of gravity from pulling it down or from falling down. And you know, that's where potential energy comes from, and then when I let go of it, it's kinetic energy, blah, blah, blah. You all know that, but there's a kind of framework of patterns or laws around which determine what's going to happen with this when I let go of it. So the reason this falls to the ground is because I let go of it. Now, there's another question here that most people won't think of asking, because that's enough to get on with your life. But if you're questioning things like free will, you have to ask this question. And it's, what does it mean if something can be explained? Okay? If something is explainable, if you can ask for the reason why something happened, and a reason can be given, and it's natural, true reason, then that means that the thing you're asking an explanation for cannot be responsible. Right? Because if this thing were responsible, if it was its choice whether it fell or not, and it fell because it chose to fall, and that choice came from nowhere else, just from it, then all the story about gravity, about my hand stopping, that would be redundant. It wouldn't be needed to explain why it fell. You'd say when it chose to, okay? And then, so now we get on to free will. So you make choices, and one of the ways that I managed to discover, I mean loads of people went through this way too, but one of the ways I managed to discover that free will just could not be true and it made no sense, was I would ask myself, why do I choose what I choose? Okay? Now that either there's an answer to that question or there isn't. If there's an answer to that question, then the answer determines the choice. Because the deterministic relationship between cause and effect is how we explain stuff. And if the cause does not produce the effect, then the cause does not explain the effect. So if I ask you, why do you choose what you choose? And you say, I like it. And I go to you, do you choose to choose like what you like? And you go, oh, I'm not sure. I can't remember. But I think you do. I mean, if you're honest with yourself, you don't. You don't get like a pot of vanilla ice cream and take a scoop out of it and put it in your mouth, and you're there for a bit, right, tasting the flavour, but neither liking or disliking it. I mean, can you remember at any point in your life where you encounter an experience or a taste? Can you remember deciding to like it? Can you remember being in a neutral kind of preferential disposition towards it, and then from that neutrality choosing whether you're going to like or dislike it? No, neither do I, because it didn't happen. So if we allow preferences as the reason why we choose things, like I chose that because I wanted it, well then do you choose to want what you want? You obviously don't. So you're within a deterministic framework and ultimately not responsible for yourself. Now then, any attempt, this is what a lot of Christians I've been debating with just don't seem to get. Any attempt to say, oh yeah, there are reasons, but you still got free will. You got to reconcile that contradiction. What else was I going to say? Yeah. You know, it's either like who you are determines what you choose, but you don't choose to be who you are. I mean, you might be, you can change who you are as time goes on. So I can think to myself, if I do these practices, if I don't do these things, I do these things, then a year from now, I'll be different. But that choice is based upon who I am now, right? You follow this back and you get the sperm and an egg. Yeah. See, the problem with a lot of these Christians is that in order for them to attribute responsibility to man, they have to, they can't just say that his choice just comes from nowhere, that it's just random, that it's not caused by anything, because then it's just like punishing people for the results of a dice roll, right? And they can't say that it is caused, it's determined by what's gone before, because then it's just like cogs and gears. So they have to kind of do a kind of mixed economy of these two mutually exclusive things to try and magically come up with human responsibility, and it just doesn't wash. Goodbye.